Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Feiruz and this is my Eclectic book diary. So today's video is going to be a review of The Invisible Life of Addie Larue, which is a book by V.E.Schwab, and it's supposed to be almost like a historical fantasy-ish. The element of history is definitely relevant to the story since we are getting flashback and things like that, but it's still, I would consider it more of like fantasy in general, so a fiction fantasy story. So everything starts in France in the beginning of the 18th century, where we find a young woman who is Addie, or our protagonist, where she kind of, in a moment of despair, she just makes a deal with the darkness, and in return she kind of gets to live forever, but she ends up being cursed because of that, and the curse is that whoever will meet her will forget her. Then we see the dynamic between her and the darkness, and it's also, this is mentioned in the synopsis, so I'm not trying to spoil anyone. She will end up, after 300 years of living, she will end up meeting someone who will remember her. And that's kind of when things start to change, or the rules of the game start to change somehow. We get to see also his point of view, this other person's point of view, and we understand why he, among all the people in the world, can still remember her, and why this curse doesn't affect him. I loved the dynamic between the characters, generally speaking. I, on one side, would love to see more about, or to know more about the darkness, or whatever you want to call it. I wanted to know more. I felt that I didn't get to see the essence of that character, because it's still a character of this whole book. It's not just like she makes a deal and then like we never see this character. No, it's kind of irrelevant to the story. It's one of the main aspects of the story. So it would have been nice if we could have seen more. It kind of felt a little bit flat for me, that specific character, even though it sounds like this mysterious, very bad, beyond evil type of a thing. I wanted to know more and to see that in action more, rather than like just telling me how bad this thing is. But there are other aspects that I really enjoyed. Like, the writer actually has this great way of communicating emotions. You feel for Addie, like you feel her agony, you feel every hardship that she goes through. That aspect I really enjoyed of the whole story. I felt that it's good to feel all of these emotions. However, through the story, since it is kind of dependent on redundancy, let me explain. What I mean by that is, because nobody remembers her, we get a lot of the same situations, or sometimes with the same people. Most of the times there are a lot of repetition that would happen, and it is relevant to the story, but it does sometimes make things a little bit boring, I believe. Or not necessarily boring, but it will feel a little repetitive after a while. And while that is, as I said, it's a main aspect of the story, it's actually very relevant, it still doesn't really make things feel smoother. It will feel a little bit redundant. I do understand that this is quite relevant for the story, but I couldn't help but feel a little bit like, yeah, next please. Like, that is how I felt in some sections, of course. But as I said, generally speaking, I liked the emotions, the questions that this story evoked, for me at least. Like, after I finished, I did spend quite some time rethinking things and start to question a lot of things, and you want to evaluate or reevaluate a lot of things. That on its own, it's kind of a success for the story, and I felt that I took some value from that particular book. Generally speaking, I did enjoy the book. I do recommend it if you want something that is a standalone book. It is like in the realm of fantasy, but it's not that complicated. Like, the writing style is fairly easy to follow, but there are like certain things that we go back and forth between historical settings and modern day settings and things like that. Also, it will evoke a few questions in your head. If you're looking for those aspects, I think you will find this book enjoyable. But yeah, I think you need to connect to the characters, of course, to actually feel for them and to enjoy the book. So that would be, at the end of the day, a very personal thing. And well, all books are subjective. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This was a review of The Invisible Life of Addie Larue by V.E.Schwab. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and yeah, I hope you will join me on the next one. Till then, take care. Bye bye.